we're looking at the militarization of police. This comes after law enforcement officials arrested more than 200 people in connection with the unrest in Ferguson this year. Good evening, I'm Brittany Pieper.
And I'm Jim Reek. Thanks for joining us. About 20,000 people live in Ferguson, fairly similar to a few cities here in mid-Missouri. And that got us thinking about protest policies and military gear here. Target 8's Chief Investigator Jamie Gray joins us. This is not a real popular topic with many police departments.
It isn't. You know, in fact, during our investigation, we had a couple of cities, Fulton and Ferguson, deny our requests for information. And then on top of that, we had some police departments that refused to talk to our reporter. But there were other police departments who wanted to explain their law enforcement side. KOMU 8's Paige spent weeks gathering records in our area. She's live at the Columbia Police Department. Paige, what did you find?
We drove to Ferguson and spoke to protesters that witnessed the most violent nights firsthand. Then we spoke to local law enforcement agencies like the Columbia Police Department about what plans were in place if a violent protest were to happen in your town.
I was scared, I was nervous, I was scared for my children.
It got angrier, it got louder, it got more aggressive.
Kind of creating the effect as if there's kind of a potential war between the citizens and the authorities.
Disputes between law enforcement officials and Ferguson protesters shocked the nation.
They got to give us something, but we're not letting them pick us on one by one.
We investigated what policies are in place in mid-Missouri.
We don't have a policy per se when it comes to actual protests.
We requested policies and inventories from 20 mid-Missouri law enforcement agencies. Of the 16 cities and counties that responded, 13 of them did not have a policy in place for protests. Jefferson City Police Chief Shoemaker says communication and making adjustments where needed helps reduce issues.
There are issues in law enforcement where things happen where you have to be able to evolve quickly and you have to be able to adapt and provide personnel.
In Ferguson, county and state officials stepped in to try and de-escalate the unrest. SWAT gear came into play when the situation could not be contained. The Michael Brown protesters I spoke with told me the use of riot gear escalated the environment and created tension between both sides, leaving businesses in parts of Ferguson destroyed.
They had them in the position of battle ready.
When the police initially showed up in the riot gear, that set the expectation, that set the stage.
We sifted through piles of records and found similar SWAT gear used in Ferguson is stocked in mid-Missouri. For example, we found at least 2 mid-Missouri cities have armored vehicles, and at least 4 have tear gas.
All of the gear and the equipment utilized is strictly safety. It's safety for the officers involved, it's safety for the suspect involved, and for all of the residents in the surrounding area that's being impacted.
Columbia police say
it may look militaristic,
but protection is the main priority.
You would want to be fully protected just as much as I think you would want your officers to be protected.
In Cole County, the policy in place is under revision, saying, quote, "We are currently reviewing it due to recent events." We got our hands on a 12-page policy from the city of Sedalia with guidelines to protect life, property, and First Amendment rights, and claim to use tear gas with the utmost caution. Jefferson City says without a policy, the approach must be clear.
We have to prepare adequately for the what-ifs anymore with demonstrations, and I think every law enforcement agency across the country has to prepare for that. No agency is completely prepared for anything that could possibly ever happen. It's impossible.
Ferguson protesters hope police will consider Ferguson when planning for the future.
We also have, I think, a really good case study for other cities and government, what to do, how to handle these situations. So if they are not already preparing for things like this, they should.
The Justice Department is currently investigating the practice of police in Ferguson. Columbia and Jefferson City do not have a set protest policy in place, but both departments did tell us they do have a crowd patrol function written within its guidelines. We mapped out which mid-Missouri cities have protest policies and highlighted which departments have military equipment on our website. To find out what's in your town, head to KOMU.com. Reporting live in Columbia, Paige Travis, KOMU 8 News.
Paige, thank you very much. A St. Louis